Earlier today, I saw a comment that reminded me of my, well, I guess, beginning days of being a game programmer. And I wanted to read it off because I think it's extremely useful information for anybody who's, well, been in the industry for a short amount of time. And if you've been in for a long time, you're probably going to agree with this. And I'm curious to see what you say in the comments. First, there are two comments here. It's a comment and a reply. So let's start with what Dan the Dev said. He was replying to a segment where I said, in this scenario, optimization is not a big deal, showing how you can use LINQ in some initialization stuff. And it says here, as a game dev community, we should be very careful about not fostering this sentiment. It's so important, especially in the more mobile moving development world. By this, I mean eventually return to handheld gaming and VR, not just mobile. Things like pushing to use square distance over distance, understanding the cost of lists and hash, especially for LINQ and for each versus for. Teaching optimization second leads to worse developers. Now, overall, I think it's a great comment. I'm going to heart and thumbs up it. I think optimization is super important, especially when it comes to mobile and VR. But I thought that the reply, it really resonated with me a lot more, and it already got the heart and thumbs up. I think you should all probably go give it one too. So Bitwise Mobile said, as an old school game developer from the late 90s through the 2000s, I embraced these concepts. I wrote early brew titles on handsets with less capacity than your toaster, which is great. I really wish Razer would make like some awesome toaster that, didn't just have RGBs, but made cool toast and did something else cool. Would be neat. Anyway, we had to do some serious wizardry tricks to get some of that stuff to fit and be usable. That was all C++ on old school brew handsets. Before that, I wrote games for DOS. So yeah, one thing of caution though, as Nuth said, premature optimization is the root of all evil. And this is really what we're going to talk about. Let's finish the comment though. Don't optimize something that doesn't need to be optimized, and don't think you already know what needs to be optimized before you start stress testing. Optimization is important, but it should be your second thought. Your very next thought, that is after you've completed your game design. So essentially think about it after you've got it working and going, but let's finish on. Obviously, follow good design principles, but that should go without saying. Don't look at a function and say, can that be optimized, and start refactoring. That's the source of so many bugs, and frankly, it's something I see juniors do all the time. This is what I was talking about. This is what I when I finish it, you'll see exactly what I'm saying. But this is what it reminded me of. I used to do that as a junior developer all the time. And he says here, I have one guy on my team who's a junior, but happens to have a PhD in physics and constantly wants to optimize and refactor, and has caused more bugs than he's solved with that. And that's exactly the thing I was thinking about. I can think back to dozens of times when I saw something, I was like, oh, that could be faster. Let me go optimize it. And sometimes it works. Most of the time it just works, doesn't make a big difference. It's a minor optimization. But every now and then you just completely break the entire build, or break people's entire workflow because something randomly isn't working right because the optimization is missing something, or there's a reason that it wasn't optimized that way. Usually because there's something else going on that you just don't quite understand, don't know about. And also a lot of the time, almost all of the time, that optimization made zero difference. If you're looking at something and just saying like, hey, I think this could be faster, the most important thing to think about is, hey, first off, does this code even get run? I can't imagine. I can think of many, many times where I've seen people optimize and fix stuff that had been deprecated and wasn't actually used, and for some reason was still just sitting in the code base. And they just optimized it and like, I got this faster. Like, oh yeah, we don't actually use that anymore. So it doesn't matter. They're just wasting time. It's because people get this excitement of like, hey, there's this thing and I know how to solve this problem of making this one tiny thing faster or better. And it's not always faster either. Sometimes it's refactored to be more clean or more clear or more usable or something. If the refactor isn't needed, don't make it. If the optimization isn't needed, don't make it. What you should do is look at the profiler, see what's actually causing problems, where your allocations or your performance issues are, and then fix those. Now, you might be in a scenario where you need to have 0 allocations throughout like the entire game. You allocate at the beginning and you're not doing any memory allocations after that. In that case, you need to think that through and build that into your architecture. But you shouldn't be going around and having to optimize every single method. That should just be kind of the core of how your architecture is set up. And the same with I've lost my train of thought. Anyway, if this makes sense to you, and if you've done this before, like as a junior developer, I'm really curious. Drop a comment and just let me know like what kinds of things you prematurely optimized. I can think of dozens of things, from tools to combat system loops, to UI things. Sometimes one of the first things that happened when I first got into game development was I saw that for the game that I was working on, which was Vanguard, there was terrible performance. And there was terrible performance after months of debugging and profiling and stuff. This was early days of profilers. VTune was, I think, the one that Jared was using. After a bunch of debugging and people trying to figure stuff out, eventually one of the guys, Jared, figured out that all of the problem was in the UI. The UI was actually causing some people's frame rate to go from like 50 down to 1, or a lot of the people like 20 down to 1. It was causing a huge drop though. It's like a 50% UI or performance drop because of just a bad mistake in the UI code for some customization. It could have been something that was just not optimized yet and hadn't gotten around to it. I think the developer that was working on it actually left before the launch, so it could have just never came up. But it was something that was an easy optimization. So I kind of fell into the trap of whenever I'd see UI stuff after that, I would just instinctively try to optimize it, even though like 9 out of 10 times, or maybe 99 out of 100 times, the UI was really simple and it wasn't doing anything complex at all, and it was never going to be that problem. I wasn't going to have millions of string compares going on with a bunch of customizable UI stuff, so it was optimizing and wasting a lot of time just prematurely optimizing things that didn't need to be optimized and causing problems and bugs for myself. Anyway, I think I'm going to shut up about premature optimization. I think, again, profiling is very important. Optimizing is extremely important, but you don't want to waste time optimizing things that aren't the right thing. Make sure that you focus on optimizing either the entire architecture of your project or the specific things that are actually causing problems. All right, if this was interesting, don't forget to like, subscribe, thumbs up, and all that stuff. And if you want to learn more about game development, make sure you check out the courses at game.courses. Got the multiplayer mastery course. We're going into in-depth, dedicated server game development, building out an extraction game with wizards and warriors going around casting spells, killing each other, picking up loot, and getting out with all the persistence and back-end stuff that you would expect from that. And then lots of other stuff. You can go check it out at the page. And there's also some beginner stuff for anybody who's trying to learn the basics of game development with the Game Programmer course. All right, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.